Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to language lesson 157. Today, we are going to begin with our oral language exercise. Then, we are going to do a quick review of concepts that we've covered in the past. That will be followed by the introduction of a new concept, along with some exercises from page 245. You can go ahead and get that so you'll have access to it as we cover the examples together. Also, today you are going to be completing quiz 22 in language. So hopefully, if you have not already done so, you will make time to ensure that that is finished, preferably before your Google Classroom meet today. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Please repeat after me when you hear each sentence. I can drive the car. May I drive the car? May I see your book? I may be in the race. I may be in the race. I can be in the race. I may mow the lawn. I may mow the lawn. I can mow the lawn. He may be the best president we've had. Very good. So hopefully you heard the difference between the verbs. Again, can being the ability to do something, may being the possibility, or having received permission to do something. So with that in mind, you heard what we would call subject and verb agreement, which we've covered in the past. There are times when you would need a singular subject to be coupled with a singular verb and a plural subject to be coupled with a plural verb because they need to agree. It's very imperative that they do so. We also learned in the past that sometimes we will come across a compound subject, and those require a plural verb. We also know that most singular verbs ended with the letter S. So just retain those rules to memory so that it'll make it easier when you come across them in the future. Now, what I'd like for us to do is go over some of the troublesome verbs that we've covered in the past. And here we have them: sit, set, lie, and lay. Sit means to rest or to be seated. The principal parts for sit happen to be sit, sitting, sat, have sat. Set, on the other hand, means to put or to place something. Set, setting, set, have set are the principal parts for set. Now let's look at the verb lie. Lie means to either recline or be in a restful position. Those principal parts are lie, lying, lay, have lain. Lay, on the other hand, means to put or place something, similar to the definition directly above it. Those principal parts are lay, layin, laid, have laid. There was a particular tune that we put these parts to help us retain them. We're going to sing that together at this time. Sit, am, sitting, sat, have, sat. Sit, am, sitting, sat, have, sat. Set, am, setting, set, have, set. Set, am, setting, set, have, set. Lie, am, lying, lay, have, lain. Lie, am, lying, lay, have, lain. Lay, am, laying, laid, have, laid. Lay, am, laying, laid, have, laid. Very good. Okay, go ahead and continue singing that as many times as you need to in order for you to, again, retain it to memory. Very good. Now, we know based on these troublesome verbs that the English language can be quite puzzling. I have some puzzle pieces here, and some of them connect, and some of them, no matter how hard you try, you just cannot get it to connect. And that's what we come across sometimes when we are encountering grammar. So what we are going to do, we're going to review some particular rules that will help us when we come across other troublesome words. Here we have an example of two, which are accept versus accept. Accept is a verb and it means to receive or agree to. The example we have here says he accepted her invitation. In other words, he received her invitation. He agreed to her invitation. Accept, on the other hand, is a different part of speech with a different function. Accept is a preposition which means to exclude. The example we have that follows says, everyone except Alex won a prize. In other words, everyone excluding Alex won a prize. We also have some more examples of troublesome words, and those are affect versus effect. Affect is a verb. It means to influence or to act upon. The example we have here says the weather always affects her health. In other words, the weather always influences her health, or the weather has influence on her health. Effect is usually preceded by the word the. It is a noun and it's a result of a consequence. So, the example we have here is we could easily see the effects of the storm. In other words, as a result of the storm, we were able to see things like debris laying in the road or windows being shattered. All right, so just know the difference between the two. Again, different parts of speech, different function. Here we have beside versus besides with an S. Beside means by the side of or next to. The example we have following says, I sit beside her at school. In other words, I sit next to her at school. Besides means in addition to. The example that follows says, Jack has several books besides this one. Yes, he has other books. So in addition to this book, he has many more. Very good. Between and among. Here you need to concentrate on the number of people or things involved. So I want you to consider that TW in between the word between, and I want you to remember the number 2 because that 2 starts with TW. So when you use the word between, it's identifying two people or things. It's making a comparison in that particular case. So here we have an example. Jared and I had $3 between us because only 2 people were involved, Jared and the individual speaking. The word between was most appropriate to be used in this sentence. Among, on the other hand, is when you have more than 2. So the sickness spread among the townspeople. We can attest to the fact that we're now experiencing the pandemic, COVID-19, and it has indeed spread among the people in the community, unfortunately. But thank God that He is good and healing will come. Burst versus bust. Ooh, we never want to use that word bust, but there are instances in which burst is appropriate. Burst means to pop or explode. And you have burst balloons in the past, correct? All right, let's look at our sample sentence. It says the balloons burst when they touch the ceiling. Some of us have experienced that. And again, you want to eliminate bust from your vocabulary. Have versus of. You'd be so surprised how many times people mix these particular words up. Now, have is a helping verb. there's an example that follows, and I want you to pay attention. It says, I could have gone to school today. You would not say, I could have gone to school today. Let's look at of, which is a preposition, and how it's used in context. It says, the gift of chocolate covered strawberries was delicious. Again, a different function. Have being a helping verb, of being a preposition. Here we have fewer or less. When it is countable, you would use the word fewer. When it is measurable, you would use the word less. So for instance, you can count eggs, you can count students. So the example that's given says she used fewer eggs in the pie than in the cake. So you may have noticed that she used 4 eggs in the pie, but she used 5 eggs in the cake. So in other words, she used fewer eggs in the pie. Less, as we said, has to do with measurement. So she poured less milk into the second bowl. You could have less flour. You could have less sugar. In this case, less milk. Very good. Off of versus off. So we would want to get rid of the expression off of. It's not necessary because the word off in and of itself suffices. So off is a preposition. Let's look at an example. Jump off the diving board to make a huge splash. You wouldn't say jump off of the diving board to make a huge splash because you have already expressed the point with the preposition off. Very good. Should I use try to or try and? Never try and. You would simply say try to. There's an example. Try to remember my birthday. You would not say try and remember my birthday. Okay, so make sure you know the difference between the two expressions and what exactly you are trying to express to your listener. Wait on versus wait for. So when you wait on, you are basically serving. So dad waited on mom when she was sick. In other words, he provided water for her when she was thirsty. He provided soup for her when she was hungry, but he tended to her, much like what a waiter or waitress does when you go to a restaurant. We have an example for wait for. It says, at the airport, Kyle waited for his sister for a full hour. Okay. What I'd love for you to do on your own time is to use this reference resource page, 244, to review the concepts that we just covered together. Now I'd like for you to direct your attention to page 245. Think A, B, and C will be completed independently by you. Let's go ahead and review the instructions together before you are left on your own to do so. So think A says to circle the correct word in parentheses. Number 1 says, Timothy could have or of gone with us to the market. We need a helping verb in this case, not a preposition. The correct word would be have. Timothy could have gone with us to the market. So you would circle the word have in this case. Looking at think B, it says each of the following sentences contains a word or phrase used incorrectly. You are to underline the misused word or phrase. Let's look at number 1 together. It says the speaker stepped off of the stage when he had finished. Now, we covered this, and we would never combine off of because we said that off in and of itself suffices. So we would underline off of. It should be the speaker stepped off the stage when he had finished. Very good. I'm glad you are understanding these concepts. Finally, for write C, you on a separate sheet of notebook paper are going to write a correct sentence using the words provided. Number one being accept in this case, and you would do so for all 8 of them. Okay, so have fun with those exercises. Just a reminder, you are going to complete quiz 22 if you have not already done so. Hopefully you are quite familiar with those troublesome verbs, so you will ace it. I look forward to seeing your progress. Have a great day.